Yeah, I've been kind of back and forth in here all day, so it's kind of, I don't know. I'm getting real restless right now. Being in between jobs is not a good thing. But I mean, what do you do? I mean, I was with Lyft, that was dead end, and they kept nailing me for false claims that these customers are making. And I'm driving. I'm trying to be the best driver that I can be. But these people are like, they tell you at the last minute, "Hey, yo, turn right here," and then you got to stop and damn near get in an accident, all because they want you to make a certain turn at a certain spot, and it's like it's just not worth it. I mean, and plus, you know, if you look at it, I made um I made 135,000 last year, and I ended up, after everything was all said and done, I ended up bringing home $10,000. And you also have to subtract um 2,000 from that 10, because that was the actual money that I had to spend to get my car repaired. So, I mean, for a whole year, I get to keep a whopping $8,000. I mean, that's pennies. I'm not even sure, what is that? Is that 100 a week, maybe? What? 12, 24, 36, 48. That's about $200 a week that I get to keep. That's mine to live off of. It's like, you got to be kidding me here. I mean, this is crazy, but I mean, that's the way that that's the way they, I don't know, that's the way they operate. You just have to kind of, you put up with it until you can't do it no more. And that was exactly what I did. I put up with it until it was like, you know what? This time I'm not going to try and argue with you guys. I'm not going to try and convince you guys that I shouldn't be uh, deactivated. I'm not going to try to, make up some story between me and the rider, who, I might add, the rider only has to press a button. That's it. They don't have to. They don't have to do anything else after that. They press a button and that's it. As a driver, you have to, provide proof. You got your webcam or your dash cam. You have to give them proof of that, and any other documentation you got. And it's like, hold on, you know, I'll provide as much proof as the rider provided. Okay, I'll provide as much proof as the rider provided, because I'm pretty sure the rider just pressed a button and went on about their day. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the first time that they've done this. And if you wanna add, injury to insult to injury, the riders, most of them don't even have a license because it's suspended, or they don't have a car or whatever. So it's like, you gotta, you gotta weigh some of this stuff out, because, you know, you're, you and another thing that I thought of. Here's the thing that makes absolutely no sense to me. You know, they'll get rid of a driver that's bringing them $125,000 a year. They'll get rid of him. You know, that's $125,000 loss that you have after getting rid of that driver. I mean, if I was a stockholder, I'd be like, whoa, hold on for a minute. We're losing a lot of money, and because of it, your stocks are lagging. I'm not making any money. I'm not making as much money as I could be making. We need to figure something out here. You know, start asking for some verification or whatever. Because to be honest, when you talk about investors, they could care less what a company has to do to make that stock go up. If they got to fire some people, if they got to change some rules, if they got whoever they have to step on to get that stock back up, they got to close plants and all kinds of stuff to get that stock back up. The investor could care less. It's like, do whatever you have to do to get this stock back up. We could care less about people losing their job, homes, living on the street, whatever. Do what you have to do to get that stock back up. That's all we care about. They don't even want to hear what the company has to say about, well, this is, I hired my son and, he's married and got kids. They'll try to, they'll try to finagle the people around and get rid of other people. But at the end of the day, the investor could care less. If you can do it and still get to the projected goal, do what you got to do. That's the investor mindset. And it's the investor mindset is it is a dog eat dog type of thing, but it's the investor. It's their money that they've invested. They're trying to gain interest off that money. So you can't really, I don't really blame them or fault them or look at them sideways. It's just it's business. That's business. You can't really there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You just have to just to deal with it and just kind of make your way into other avenues. And that's the only way that's the only way you can do it. Deal with it and just make your ways in other avenues. And that's part of getting through most of that stuff. That's this thing we call life. And it's something else because it's also unfortunately the American dream. That we all spend our entire life fighting and clawing to and stepping over who we got to step over to get to an American dream that you're chasing a goal that keeps moving. You're climbing Mount Everest, but the top keeps getting higher. It's kind of funny because when you talk about, I was thinking about, what was it? The edge of the universe. Space is expanding faster than the speed of light. So if you could get to the edge of space, by the time you got there, even if it took you 1 second, even if it took you, let's say it took you 1 light year to get to the edge of space. By the time you got there, the edge of space has already moved more than 1 light year. And if and to put that into perspective, I did the math one day. A light year, we haven't even been alive for a light year. So if you look at the entire existence of mankind, that's not even a light year. That to me, when I think about that kind of stuff, that to me is amazing. I did the math one day on how to, it was real elementary. math, almost preschool math, we'll say. I did the math on how far one planet is from another one. So what I did was I said, okay, the book says it's going to take this long to get to a planet. So I said, okay, I wonder if that's true. So I said, okay, I know that how long it takes us to get to the moon. I said, okay, we'll use that as what we know. Then I said, okay, let me get a ruler, probably 64s, stuck it up in the air. Again, this is really elementary. So pick a planet, and I'll say, okay, say that planet is when you put the ruler up, it's maybe a 16, maybe a 64. So then you go measure the moon, same ruler. Say the moon is, let's say 2 inches across by the ruler. So you subtract, you divide that 64th into the 2 inches. And whatever you come up with, you times it times the time that it takes us to get to the moon. And then you divide that by 1 light year. And that's how you come, at least as far as I'm concerned, that's how you come up with the time that it would take to get to that particular planet that you that you just very preschoolish measured. Um, Sorry, Neil, that's I know that's very, 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 very kindergartenish, but just uh, just a little part of me thinks that you're respected. Just a little bit, a little part of me. You too, Chuck. I'm not. Me and Chuck are in the same room. He's just on the other end. But I know Neil we're respected, and I'm hoping you'll respect it. Neil, that's my Neil deGrasse Tyson. It makes me wonder about him sometimes. Like, how in the world do you remember all this stuff, man? It's like, dude, what, you know, I got to think, I got to, remember what day it is. How in the world are you remembering, oh, well, that between the Earth and Saturn is, Uranus. Neil, that's kind of personal, but I don't need to know that information. I kind of know the coordinates. It's a little scary that you do also. I think I'm going to go now. It was nice meeting you. And I don't know. I don't have anything to say. But yeah, it makes you wonder how he can remember all of that stuff. And it's like, dude, you know, what a mind. It also makes me wonder, all due respect to Neil deGrasse Tyson, I wonder if his kids are as smart as he is. They got that DNA, it's like, man, are they like, super genius like he is, and can understand and figure out how to do this and how to do that and yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if they are as smart as he is. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. I mean, I would love to just sit up with Neil and just ask him every stupid question that you ever thought of. You know what I'm saying? How do you know that this salami sandwich weighs X amount of weight based on the 2 slices of wheat bread and Earth's gravity and the fact that I live on the 5th floor, temperature of the room, do the calculations, go. And they'll probably look at me like, how in the hell am I supposed to know or care about that salami sandwich? Although it does look tasty. So if you don't mind, if you have good hygiene, then I'll help myself if I can. Haven't ate lunch yet, but outside of that, I don't really know what maybe you can ask um, another science guy, Bill Nye. Maybe he'll tell you. Uh, that's pretty iffy. It's really, really iffy. But you can give it a shot. You can give it a shot. You can definitely give it a shot. You have to wait until you see him, because I'm not going to insult Bill Nye like that and hand out his number. So next time you see him, just pick his brain if he stops to talk to you. But not another science dude. Bill Nye the science guy. Big Bill, what up? But yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff that I think about sometimes. Is like, when do you think about this stuff? I don't know why I do it. I just sit up and think about it like, what if? What if I was a millionaire? What if I won the lottery? Oh, oh. I won't tell you guys what that meant. Sounded kind of weird, but let's skip over that. If I won the lottery, probably what I would do, definitely going, I don't know. I would almost want to build like a container home almost. I mean, I would definitely find some property. Like, I've seen some property like right around the corner from me, where it like sits way back off the road, way